Welcome everyone to tonight's talk with Tony Southgate. Facebook marketing doesn't work, is that right? Facebook doesn't work, advertising doesn't work?
Facebook advertising, Facebook ads doesn't work. Either of those sensational titles will do.
Welcome tonight. Obviously Ipswich and stuff at Tech Network support these and host these, and Tony has very kindly given up his time free tonight to do this talk for us, so thank you, Tony.
Hi, I'm Tony. Thanks very much for coming along. I'm quite excited about delivering this to you guys because it's actually the debut of this particular bit of content and talk, and is a nice run through for me because it's actually going to go to Brighton SEO in April as well. So any feedback that you guys have would be greatly received as well, in terms of the content, how well it was received and understood, etc., etc. So the talk itself is, I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully you guys can see that, and just the talk itself and not my taskbar at the bottom. So it's around Facebook advertising doesn't work. It's going to last probably about 40 to 45 minutes. Hopefully you guys will pick up some really nice actionable tips as we go through, and some of the things that you can start applying to your own marketing. There will be a Q&A at the end, so any questions that you get, drop them into the chat, hold on to them, write them down, talk to me at the end, and I'll hopefully get through all of those as well. By means as more of an introduction on me and who I am. I'm Tony Southgate. I'm the Digital Director for Generate Leads Online. We're a digital marketing agency that is based in Ipswich. One of the things that I'm really keen on and really hopeful of changing is the digital skills gap. So the purpose of this talk is really to educate you. So I want everyone that comes along this evening to be able to get something out of this, which is going to make your advertising a lot better or a lot easier. You might be thinking, well, who is Tony Southgate and what qualifies him to talk about Facebook marketing? Well, one of the reasons is I've done it before and I've probably made all the mistakes that you potentially could make. What you'll notice as we go through the talk, there's going to be a lot of memes. I love a meme and I think it helps get the message across, but I have definitely been here. So did someone set the daily this to a daily budget, where I've taken the client's total budget and put it as a daily budget and nearly spent it all in one day. So I've definitely done that. And I've definitely been here as well. So if you've ever been into any of the back end of Facebook's ad manager, analytics, business manager, creator studio, or one of the many other tools that they have, you've probably felt a bit like this because they don't make the most sense most of the time, but I've been there. And also this is my experience in and around social media. So I've previously been head of digital for an agency. I've worked in regional press before as learning and development and training and coaching people in all things digital marketing, including social media. And probably my most relevant experience to qualify to talk to me about this, I was looking after £100,000 a year social media spend for a travel brand. So it means that throughout that time, I've been able to make a lot of mistakes, which I'll openly admit to, but also be able to do a lot of testing and learning, which has then enabled me to find out some of the things that work, and not only for large budgets, but also smaller budgets as well. But like I said, as we go through this, hopefully it's going to open your eyes on why Facebook advertising doesn't work and why you're wasting your money on it. So hopefully most of you guys have come across this evening. You've run Facebook advertising before in some form, and you've found, like many, that it doesn't work. So why are you wasting money on Facebook? Why should you spend your money there? And that's what we're going to get into this evening. And it's not that Facebook advertising doesn't work, because it absolutely does. But if you're running Facebook advertising and it's not worked, it's probably because you're doing it wrong. And here's one of the reasons why. So this meme is a little bit of a joke. So it's Facebook discussing protecting user data. Let's not and say that we did. There's been no secret about the amount of data that Facebook can collect on you. It's possible to find out exactly what it knows about you, but Facebook is not only tracking you in what you do within its app, how you're reacting to content, what comments you're leaving, word for word, and understanding the meaning of that, but it's also tracking you elsewhere. So that means that Facebook has probably got more data on us and knows us better than our nearest and dearest. And because of that, when you're using that data properly, it means it becomes one of the most powerful advertising platforms out there, but only if you do it right. And that's what we're going to talk about. Some of the things that you're potentially doing wrong, which means that you're wasting your money on Facebook. So I'm going to go through a list of things to look at and to check, and they're all going to be titled out like this. This is being recorded, so I'm going to presume that this will be sent out to you guys afterwards. So definitely refer back to it and go through the motions and have a look at your Facebook advertising and watch the recording back, because it's going to act a bit of a checklist of things to do. So one of the first things that you need to look at, and one of the things that could be hindering you, is your website, especially if your website looks something like this. So if we think about Facebook advertising, one of the things that we're going to do is send people through to the website. And the reason why we're sending people there is because we want them to buy our products or services, or we want them to give us some data so we can then capture that as a lead. Before you start sending people to your website and generating leads or generating sales, you need to make sure that it's doing the job that it's supposed to do. So one of the first things to always check is website speed. As people, as users, we're incredibly impatient and we want things to load as quickly as possible. And if your website doesn't load quickly, then people are going to abandon it before you've had the opportunity to be able to sell to them. On top of that, you need to make sure that you're delivering people to what you're talking about. So what I mean by that is if you're talking about a particular product or you're talking about a particular service, make sure you deliver them to a page about that product or service and not just to the homepage. This will also help with your relevancy score and the overall score that you get for your Facebook ads in terms of making sure that you're giving people a good user experience. So we'll talk about that in a bit more detail a little bit further on, but that's one of the first steps that you need to take in order to make sure that your Facebook advertising is going to work. Next thing you need to be looking at is the goals and the goals that you're setting for your campaign. So understand what it is that you want to achieve from your Facebook ads. So are you looking to create more brand awareness? Do you want to have more page likes? Are you looking for more engagement with your content? For the most part, it's going to be that you want to get more sales. And so it's important that you make sure that you set goals and that those goals are smart. So they're specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So knowing what it is you want to achieve and when you want to achieve it by. So we want to achieve X amount of sales of this product within the next 6 months, and make sure that you're measuring across that. So this webinar, this talk is not going to be about Google Analytics or things like that, but making sure that you've got Google Analytics in place so you can measure that as well and make sure that you're achieving your goals. You're boosting posts or just boosting posts. Who's guilty of boosting posts on Facebook? And I say guilty because for the most part, they're not going to achieve what you want them to. So there is a place for boosting posts, and there's definitely some good reasons behind boosting posts. But if you're serious about your Facebook advertising, just boosting posts isn't going to get you the results that you want. There's something which is going to be more for brand awareness. And the reason why they're not going to get you what you want is they're not going to be optimized for specific goals. You can't select custom audiences or create custom audiences. You can't be particular over the placements. There's no personalization whatsoever. And that's one of the real beauties of Facebook advertising. And because you are just boosting a singular post, you can't A/B test. So we'll talk about A/B testing in more detail as we go through. But this is one of the things that's going to really help you to understand what is working best within your Facebook advertising. And so by just boosting posts and taking away that option means that your spend isn't going to work as hard as it could. Here's another thing that happens. Facebook will show your post to basically anyone that's online at that time. So this is the Oprah Winfrey, you get a, you get a, you get a. This is very much like you're going to see the ad, you're going to see the ad. And the only thing that qualifies that person for seeing that ad is if they fall within your audience. Whereas if you're using Ad Manager, you can be more specific around the kind of people that you want. So to give you an example, within the travel industry, there's an option to turn on reaching potential travelers. So not only are you targeting your ideal audience, it's also people that Facebook knows are likely to travel soon as well, or are looking for a trip, vacation, holiday. Boosting posts doesn't give you that option. Like I said, it's still something which can be used, but this is really just around getting post engagement. So if that is your goal, then great, boost posts. But if you want sales, leads, etc., you're going to be need to using Ad Manager. Next thing, you're not using your Facebook pixel, or you've not created and installed it. Being tech people, you've probably had pixel and code and things of that kind. So it is literally a piece of code which goes into your website, but it's one of the most valuable parts of your Facebook advertising. Without your pixel in place, you're not really going to understand what's going on with the marketing, what's converting, and you're also not going to be able to include some of the really cool features around custom audiences and create the kind of audience that is going to get you the best results. So if you haven't got a Facebook pixel, make sure that you're creating it and installing that into your website. If you're not sure if you've got a Facebook pixel and you want to check, there is a really cool browser extension for Chrome, which is the Facebook Pixel Helper. So if you searched for that, added that extension into Chrome, you can then press this little button, go on to when you're on your website, and it will tell you whether there is a pixel already in place or not. And if there is, you'll even get the ID. So you can see there for the one for Generate Leads Online, we can see our pixel ID, and that is installed in the site. Pixels are really, really good news for your advertising. If you don't have one in place, then you will need to go into Business Manager in order to then create one. So you can set up web events. You've got the option here to create a Facebook pixel. You get the bit of code, and then that goes into the website. My preferred way of installing code into a website is by using something called Google Tag Manager. If you're not familiar with this or haven't heard about Tag Manager before, this is basically a container for all of the bits of code that you may wish to add into your website. So this will be a one-time bit of code that goes into the head and the body of the first page. And then after that, you can add any kind of code that you want into the website. And you're not going to need a web developer or your marketing agency to keep adding code in whenever you need to. It can all be deployed through Google Tag Manager after that one-time job is done. So Rick and Morty fans, you'll like this one. You son of a bitch, I'm in. So once your Facebook pixel is in, that is when we can have the real fun. And this is where Facebook advertising starts to get, for me, really exciting and really good. So one of the things you'll probably need to tick off on your list of things to do once your pixel is in is something called domain verification. This is making sure that you are able to run advertising for this particular domain. So again, within your Business Manager settings, you'll see a section there for domain verification. This is a bit of code that then goes into your website or into your hosting. So you may need your web developer or your marketing agency to help out with this one. But once that domain is verified, it means that you can then start running ads to that domain, and it's connected to your Facebook ad account. So get that one ticked off your list as well. Next thing is starting to create events. So there's different types of events that you can create. And thanks to Apple and iOS 14, then iOS 15, there's a couple of different things that we need to do. But the events that you create are going to be the things that help you find your most valuable customers or your most valuable potential customers, and also enable you to start remarketing people and bring back the people to your website that haven't completed the action that we want. So both of those things I will talk about in more detail, but just to mention them for now, it all comes from events. and you can't start creating those events without your Facebook pixel within the website. So again, moving on, you're not using events, and let's talk about those events in a bit more detail and some of the things that you may want to start creating. If anyone's seen Starsky and Hutch and this particular one, the do it now. Make sure that you're creating your events. Like I said, these are going to be your most valuable customers or your most valuable potential customers and the kind of people that you really want to reach. So aggregated event management. This is letting Facebook know what the most important things to you that are going on your website. So you will go into aggregated event management, you'll select some events, you can select up to 8, and then you need to order these in your highest priority to your lowest priority. So if the most important thing for people to do when they hit your website is to make a purchase, you would select purchase. If it's subscription, you would select subscription. If it's going to be a lead or fill out a form, then you put that as your most important event. This allows then Facebook to start optimizing your campaigns to these events. So you can take advantage of Facebook's machine learning, and it takes a lot of the guesswork out for you as well. The next thing is custom events. So the custom events are all around the journeys that people will take on your website. So when people come through to the website, it's how they scroll, and then it's what buttons that they're pressing. So links, going on to next pages, add to cart buttons, purchase buttons, etc., etc. Now, ordinarily, you'd think, well, setting up all of those different types of events sounds like quite a difficult task and maybe something that you would need a web developer to do for you. But Facebook make it really simple in that they've got a section where you can set up these events by entering your website URL. You then press the open website button. It will then open your website, and all you need to do is go through that user journey. So thinking about the things that you want people to do when they come through to your website. So is it go to a particular page? Is it download a form, download a document, sorry, play a video, fill out a form, make a purchase, go through all of these events on your website, and then Facebook will pick up on these events. And then you can start making audiences or custom audiences around these events. And then these audiences are going to be the thing that really superpowers your advertising. So audiences, I mentioned it there. You can then start creating these custom audiences, which is going to allow you to then have better Facebook advertising, but also then start remarketing as well. So I'm going to talk about audiences in a bit more detail. I'm going to have a sip of water first as well. So audiences are going to be really key to finding the kind of people that you want to on Facebook, but then also to be able to remarket people. So I've said remarketing a few times now, but the reason I'm banging on about it is because it is so important. And in a few slides time, I'll tell you why. So the different types of audiences that you can create fall into these categories. So first one is saved audiences. Your saved audiences is where you would go in and select demographics and interests of the kind of people that you may want to reach. So in here, you're thinking about where these people are. So location in the UK, have they visited this location? Do they live in it? Are they male, female? What's their age range? And then some of the interests that may be applicable to your business. In terms of interests or behaviors, what Facebook can do is give you some suggestions based on some of the things that you've been typing in. You can browse those, or you can actually go, well, I want to find people that are interested in football, for example. And then Facebook will be able to bring that through. So saved audiences is a great thing to use if you really understand the kind of people or the kind of interests that you want. I think one of the best adverts that I've ever seen was when Tiger King was out. So if we remember Tiger King, when that came out on Netflix, and I was actually semi-obsessed with it. I thought it was a brilliant show, absolutely hilarious. And I got shown an ad for life insurance. And what they'd actually done with that ad is included like an image of the Tiger King within it. and they made a connection and joke based on the fact that as a male of a certain age with a child, I may require life insurance, especially if I'm associated to someone like Carol Baskin. So what they've basically done here is being able to go in, create a saved audience around men of a certain age that we know have got children, but have also interested in Tiger King, which then allowed them to personalize that advert to me. I didn't buy life insurance from them in the end, but it was one of those ads that has really stood out for me. Next thing that you want to look at is custom audiences. So these are some of my favorite audiences that you can create. So saved audience is good. Custom, in my opinion, is much, much better. So this is all about finding your most valuable customers on Facebook. And it's without having to do the hard work of really understanding what their interests are and what their demographics are. And we can leave that then down to Facebook's machine learning. As I said a little bit earlier, Facebook has more information on us than what we would tell our nearest and dearest. So it means that their machine learning and their targeting really is second to none. One of the things that you hear a lot is I've been talking about a particular product or service, and then suddenly I see that in my Facebook stories or within my Facebook feed. That's all about the psychology and bringing something from the unconscious to the subconscious. That ad was always there. You just didn't notice it before. And because you've spoken about it, you're now noticing it. And the reason why we think Facebook is listening to us is because the targeting is so good. And Facebook really understands this because of all the interactions we have on there. So definitely use custom audiences as part of your marketing campaigns, because these will get you some of the best results. So as we said before, you're not going to be able to create a custom audience unless you've got that pixel in place. But when that pixel is in place, you can then start creating these audiences off the back of the actions that people are taking on your website. You can also do this from customer lists. So you can actually upload first-party data, and then Facebook will be able to find these people for you on Facebook, so you can advertise to them as well. Off the back of that, you can also create lookalike audiences. So a lot of the time when we upload that first-party data or our customer lists, that list of people actually isn't very big and probably isn't a viable audience for us to advertise to. So it's probably going to be too small, too niche, and then it's going to be very, very expensive to reach those people. But what you can do off the back of that is create a lookalike audience. And that lookalike audience is saying to Facebook, well, these are my most valuable customers, or these are the most valuable actions that people have taken on my website. I want you to find more people that look like that. So Facebook will take all that data, then expand it. It then makes it more viable. It makes it cheaper to reach those people, and you'll get much, much better results. So lookalike audiences, big thumbs up, good for me. So the way that I would divide this in, if you've seen any kind of ads or heard people speak about Facebook advertising, they're basically talking about creating funnels. And those funnels are, in layman's terms, just divided into prospecting and converting. So your custom audiences and lookalike audiences, they will fall into prospecting, so reaching the kind of people that could potentially be interested in your product or service. And then the converting is your remarketing audiences. So again, these are going to be custom audiences, and it's based on the actions that people have taken on your website. And that really is the start of your funnel. And that's reaching people that don't know you, that could potentially be interested in your product and services, getting them through to the website. And then those people that come through and don't convert, making sure that you keep your brand in front of them, so you can then bring them back to the website or get them to search for you by your brand name, get them to come to the website, and then complete the action that we want them to. Remarketing. So I've mentioned this a few times. Apologies if that's jargon or if it's not something you've heard of before or not familiar with. It's something which we've probably all seen. So in the first instance, it's referred to usually as following people. So, you know, when you've been to a website and then suddenly you go elsewhere, or you go into your social media, you start seeing adverts for that website that you've been on. That is effectively remarketing. One of my favorite things about remarketing was When I worked for a publisher, I was running a training session and talking about this, and I explained for the first time how remarketing works. And one of the ladies in the room was like, that's blown my mind, because whenever I was shown ads for particular clothes, dresses, things of that kind, I always took it as a sign that I should buy it. I didn't realize that they were deliberately doing this. And that is how people outside the industry do view these things and think, oh yeah, it's a sign, I should buy that product, which is what makes Facebook remarketing, or any kind of remarketing, so powerful. So basically, to give you an idea, this is how it works. So if I was worried about hair loss, not at the moment, I'm thinking haircut, it's a bit moppy. But if I was worried about hair loss, I might go onto this website and have a little look around and see what they can offer in terms of treatment. I can then go on to my social media and then suddenly I'm shown an ad with a stronger offer. So you see here, it says get 50% off. So they've realized I've been on the website, haven't completed the action that I wanted to. So they're advertising to me, they're giving me an offer, they're trying to get me to come back and complete the action that I want. That is remarketing. And the reason why remarketing is so important when it comes to social media is because any kind of advertising, so your prospecting or your remarketing, is disruptive. So if we think about why we open up the Facebook app, or why we open up Instagram, or why we go onto those platforms, it's not to buy products. If I wanted to buy a product, and my purpose online at that time was to buy a product, I would go to Google or I'd go to Amazon and I'd search for that product. Those same kind of behaviors don't happen on social media. So what will happen is you will put your advert in front of people that Facebook knows will be interested in your product or service, but they're not in a buying mode right now. They're in a social mode. So what you're going to do is disrupt their journey with the ad, and you're going to put the ad in front of them. People are going to click it. They'll come through to the website. They'll have a little look around, but it's very highly unlikely that they will convert first time, because as a user, we want to get back to our social time. So we'll come in, we'll have a look, we'll spend a small amount of time there, and then bam, we're back on social again. We're having a look to see what our friends have had for dinner. We're looking at their babies, now they're 6 months old, etc., etc., etc. So that is why remarketing is so important as part of your social mix. If anyone came to us and said, I want to run social media ads, we wouldn't do it unless there was remarketing involved as part of that. And it's because that is so disruptive. So make sure you're including remarketing. If you're not, you won't be getting as good of results. So in terms of creating remarketing and your remarketing audiences, so if we remember this, guys, finding your most valuable customers on Facebook, you would create a remarketing audience around those important actions. So again, you'd go to custom, you'd select websites, so people that have visited the website, and then you'd create an audience from here. So this is just a really quick example of something that you might want to create. So the source is the Facebook pixel, the event, so is add to cart. So I want to create an audience around people that have come to the website and added something to their cart within the last 30 days. I've then gone on and made this a bit more accurate in that I have excluded people that have actually made a purchase in the last 30 days. So what we don't want to do here is start remarketing people that have added to cart and made a purchase and saying to them, if you make a purchase, we'll give you 50% off, because that's just going to piss people off. And they're going to be like, well, if I'd have known that, I wouldn't have made the purchase in the first instance. So we're excluding everyone that's made a purchase, just including those that have added to cart and then haven't done anything else. That then becomes our remarketing audience around people that have nearly made a purchase, but not quite. We can then start remarketing them with messages to encourage them back, either through the ad or through searching for us by brand name and giving a stronger call to action. Next thing, your creative is shit. So I've said a lot around how great Facebook is in terms of its targeting. And in my opinion, you won't find anything that's better. But it doesn't matter if your targeting is the best or the most accurate with amazing remarketing mixed in. If your ad creative is shit, it will not get the results you want. So what I'm not going to do is give you loads of examples of bad ads. I'm going to give you some ideas of what makes good ads on social. If we think about what we're doing on social media, we are looking to be inspired, we're looking to be educated, we're looking to be entertained. So you need to make sure that your ads fall within those themes. So a good example here from Shopify, inspirational. They offer websites and they're saying to people, well, you know, if you've got a business, if you've got a product and you want to sell it, what's stopping you? You know, come to us, build your website, start selling your product. So either inspirational or offer-led. So this can quite often be included in remarketing. This was an ad which I genuinely got served. So it's talking about some cloud platform and then giving us a £300 in credit in order to start. So again, think about the kind of offers that might entice people into your products or services. Include that as part of your creative. And then beneficial. So I like this. I think we can all relate to this. What it feels like to sit in 25% fewer meetings. So making work better, not sitting in endless video calls, actually getting on with things and using Slack because it's a really intuitive and quick messaging service. So again, call to action, like page, learn more. The other thing that I see quite a lot as well is not manually selecting placements. So when you go in and create ads, what you can do is actually say to Facebook, well, you can optimize for the best placements. So put it in the places which is going to get me the best results. But actually what Facebook will do is start putting in your feed ads into stories. So a feed ad is what we can see here on the left-hand side. So it's an image and it's a bit of text, which within the feed, as we're scrolling through, would probably work quite well. But from experience, I can tell you these kind of ads don't work well within stories. So when you're creating your ads and you've done your creative, make sure that you're going into placements and then take away the options to put your feed ads in stories and then create another ad set which has story-specific artwork. So what we can see on the right-hand side, it's full screen. You can see with all the content in the page, it's got a shop now, swipe up. This is going to be something which will be interacted with and responded to more than what you can see on the left-hand side. So make sure that with your creative, you're manually selecting placements and aren't doing automatic so you can get better results. Your audience is too niche or too small. So again, if you've got a website which doesn't have hundreds of thousands of visitors every single month, and you're looking to find people that have completed very particular actions, then you may find that your audience is too small for Facebook to find on Facebook. The smaller your audience, the more expensive it is to reach them because you've got to think about it's you and thousands of other businesses that's trying to reach those particular people. So the wider the audience, the cheaper it is to reach them. So if you're going really small, really niche, it is going to be really, really expensive for you to reach those people. So make sure you're taking advantage of Facebook's tools within Ad Manager. So it will tell you if it's broad or specific reach. And if it's specific, you're going to struggle to get the same kind of results. So to give you a bit more detail on those niche audiences and the way that Facebook works, and the reason why it's more expensive to reach a niche audience is because it works on a bidding structure. So Facebook will hold an auction for all of the ads that could be potentially put in front of a particular person. Can you see the number 2 bit in the text here, or is my bar above it? Who knows? But basically, you are entering an auction with other ads in order to get your ad in front of that person. The way that Facebook decides which ad to put in front of that person is it assigns each ad a value. And that value is based on how much you're willing to pay to get in front of that audience. So again, the smaller niche audience, the more you're going to have to pay for it. Your estimated action rate, which is Facebook looking at what it thinks people will do. So will they engage with the ad? Will they click the link and come through to the website? The relevance of that ad. So making sure that your creative as well as your landing page is relevant to that person. So I said right at the very beginning, making sure that your website is good and high quality, and that you deliver people to relevant pages. So if you've got an ad about a particular product or service and you're delivering them to the homepage, well, that's not good for relevance and it's not good for quality. Also, if you've got a slow website, that's not good for quality, and Facebook is taking into consideration all of those things. So once it's done that, it will then assign a value to your ad. The higher value is the ad that wins the auction and then gets the ad in front of that user. So if you go wide and you go big niche, that means it's going to be a lot cheaper because you can pick up some of the people that maybe others aren't bidding so highly on. If you go really small, you're going to have to pay a lot more to reach those people. I would liken it to Facebook trying to find needles in haystacks. So definitely try and expand that reach a little bit. Take advantage of Facebook's machine learning so you can then be more like this cat, chill out and relax. So what I mean by that is, if we're thinking about our ideal customer, we may go in our head, well, it's a woman who's aged between 30 and 40 that lives in Ipswich and has interests in this, 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 and this. So then Facebook goes, okay, well, I'll try and find that person for you and get your ad in front of them. When actually there's going to be people that could buy your product much wider outside of that. And by going with that wider audience reach, we can allow Facebook to use its machine learning and then pick the people that are most likely to convert without us actually having to be too particular about that audience. Your budget is too small. So if you are going for a niche audience, or if you're looking to reach loads of different audiences across loads of different ad sets, your budget needs to be large. If you've only got a small budget, then you've got to make it work a lot harder. You've also got to be realistic about what you're trying to optimize against. So again, when you go into Ad Manager and you're setting up a campaign and you say to Facebook, I want to convert, or I want to optimize against conversions or purchases, things of that kind, you also then specify within that what your budget is. And Facebook, on the desktop version on the right-hand side, will give you estimated daily results based on that budget. So as we can see here, I've two separate estimates, but it's the exact same audience and the exact same campaign. So if I was to spend £20 per day on this campaign, I'm not likely to get any conversions based on my audience. If I spend £500 per day, then I could get between 6 and 22 conversions based on that audience that I want to reach. So what I then need to work out is, well, if I spend £500 per day and achieve 6 conversions from that, will those 6 conversions get me a return on my investment or a return on my ad spend? And if the answer to that is yes, then I know, great, I could spend £500 per day because I'm going to get the return that I want. You can also look at maybe not optimizing against conversions and something else in order to achieve the goal you want, but we'll talk about that in a few moments' time. One of the things that you get in Ad Manager is something called Learning Limited. So as your campaign is running, Facebook will learn what works best, and Facebook will then start optimizing towards that ad creative or that audience or that particular event after those 7 days. So this is another meme that I absolutely love. I actually saw this guy on LinkedIn the other day as well. He's a real life person. He's a big cricket fan. So this is him at the cricket, apparently, not looking very happy with the Pakistan team. But basically, if you say to Facebook, I want to achieve a particular event, you need that event to happen 50 times within 7 days in order for that ad to leave learning. Now, the reason why you want it to leave learning is because while it's still in learning, Facebook is testing and Facebook is spending money where it doesn't know if it's going to work. So you want to get Facebook to the point where it's spending money on the things that it knows it does work. So you need to get 50 events within 7 days. So if you're looking to do this against conversions, for example, or purchases, signups, if you're not getting 50 of these within 7 days, then I wouldn't recommend optimizing against that event because the ad is not going to leave learning. You're going to be spending money on things that aren't working. What you may want to do is draw that goal back one stage. So for an example, if you're looking to optimize against conversions or people making a purchase, I should say, and you're not getting 50 purchases within a 7-day period, well, then you might be better off actually optimizing against adding to cart, because if you're getting 50 of those, then it's a wider audience. Facebook can then get those 50 events, and then it can understand what parts of those audience that are working best, and it will get more people to come to the website and add to cart. And off the back of that, people will naturally go on to the next stage and make the purchase. So as an example, if you're looking to spend £20 a day, and it's going to cost you £20 to get one person to add to cart, but actually if you could spend £20 to get one person to make a purchase, but actually if you could spend £20 a day and get 100 people to add to cart, you will get more than one purchase out of that due to your conversion rates. So if you find that you're trying to optimize against, say, a purchase as a conversion event and you're not getting 50, don't be afraid to change that conversion event to one stage backwards. So that may even be link clicks or landing page views, for example, because then Facebook will then send loads of traffic of people that are going to land on that page, and just naturally by conversion rates, they'll go on to the next stage anyway. But what it does mean that you're not stuck in learning phase and you're not getting Facebook to spend your budget on things that it's testing against. It will spend your budget on things that it knows will work. Like I said, you can still optimize against it, and you can still try and find those people. But as we saw with those budget estimations a couple of slides previously, it's going to cost you a lot more. So £20 versus £500 to get that particular conversion, well, you might be able to spend £100 a day and get loads of people through to the website and actually achieve more conversions than if you're just looking for those people that are likely to convert. So a few things that you can do is if you're running Facebook ads and they're not leaving learning, one of the things you can do is combine your ad sets. So rather than having all these different specific audiences over different campaigns, put them into one campaign, lots of different ad sets, give Facebook a total budget, and then say to Facebook, well, you find the combination that works best. Use your machine learning. Here's how much I want to spend. Over to you. Expand your audience, making sure that it's not so niche, including or increasing the amount that you spend, or as I said just then, changing your optimization event. All of these things will help you to exit learning a lot quicker and get your ads optimized against the things that you want them to. One of the other things that you need to make sure that you're not doing is making changes to your ads. So if you make any significant changes to those ad campaigns, that resets the 50 events in 7 days. So if you've got to 25 and you go, oh, I'm not sure if this is working too well, I know I'll just change the words in the copy, or I'll change this image in the ad. You're basically resetting Facebook's machine learning. So once you've done it, leave it for 7 days. Do not touch it within those first 7 days. Otherwise, you're just starting back from square one. A/B testing. So I mentioned this much earlier on. With Facebook's machine learning, A/B testing is something which is really easy to do. These are some of the things that you can A/B test against, but in a nutshell, what this means is you're saying to Facebook, well, I don't know what works best out of these things, so I'm going to give you budget to spend across both of them. You let me know what works best and optimize towards that particular thing. If you are going to A/B test, or if you're not sure about A/B testing, but you want to try it, one of the things that I would make sure that you always do is A/B test your ads. And as an absolute minimum, make sure that you create one ad which is a single image and one ad which is a carousel of images, and then let Facebook decide which ad is working best. So you've got that campaign set up, you've got that ad set, you've got 2 different ads in it. Facebook will show those 2 different ads to your ideal audience, and then over time we'll start optimizing towards the ad that works best, maximizing your spend. So why are you spending money on Facebook? Well, because as I said right at the very beginning, you will not get much better targeting from Facebook than what you get from Facebook ads if you do it right. So if you're not currently using Facebook ads, it's something that I'd really recommend that you give a try, but make sure that you're following these steps and implementing some of these things before you do it in order to make sure that you're not wasting money. So just to summarize, before we go into a bit of a Q&A, here's some of the things I've said. Before you start, make sure that you have everything in place. So that's from a website which has the relevant pages, provides a great user experience, is really quick to load. Make sure you've got your Facebook pixel set up and implemented in the site so you can start creating those audiences. Understand what it is that you want to achieve from your Facebook advertising. So make sure you've got your goals and you've got those in place and that you're measuring them. Make sure that you create really, really awesome audiences and even better ads, and make sure that you're testing and learning. So what will happen is you run more and more campaigns, you'll start understanding the kind of placements, the kind of ad sets, the kind of audiences that get you the best results. And by testing and learning, you'll be able to do more of that and get more results. This is me. So if you did have any further questions or wanted to reach out on a one-to-one basis, that is my telephone number, that is my email address, and that is our website. And then just one quote, which I really quite like and do like to include as part of these things. The best marketing doesn't feel like marketing. And this is so true on social media ads, where if you make a native and truly great user experience, people won't feel like they're being advertised to. People will feel like you've been listening to them, talking to them, friends about your products and services, because suddenly there they are in my Facebook feed and I'm taking notice of them and I'm taking action. And that is me. I'll stop sharing now. How do I do for runtime? Oh, that's good. Do you want me to?
You've got a load of questions, haven't you, Tony, in the Q&A chat and aside? There's a lot of questions there for you.
Yeah, do you want me to just run through the top? Sorry, I saw one as I was scrolling through there, which was 99% of the adverts I see on social media are very poor. Yeah, they are. And, you know, they don't work if they are very poor. But I guess at least you've noticed them. So, yeah, do you want me to start at the top?
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, so with iOS and iOS changes and people having to opt in and automatically being opt out, that means that it's making marketing more challenging overall. From my perspective, and why I think that will happen is Facebook, Google are just going to have to adapt the way they do things. So Firefox, Safari, for example, already done away with third-party cookies. Chrome is going to be the same. That is currently how remarketing is done, but all of these platforms will create other technology that will still allow us to do almost the exact same things. It won't be as granular and the results will be harder to come by, but by making sure that you put all the right steps in place, you still should be able to achieve the same kind of results as you were previously. Recording will be shared. Yeah, so we've got opt out. So again, Keith. Hi, Keith. How's it going? Yeah, so even with people opting out, Facebook and other platforms will still find ways of being able to reach people. Google have been looking at something called Flocks, which is federation learning of cohorts. As you can imagine, when that first came out, we all had great fun making puns or jokes about what the flock is this all about, etc., etc. But yeah, they will still, sorry, I'm reading other questions while still trying to answer this one. They will still work. They'll just find other ways of doing it. Are pixels still of any use if you're not advertising? Yeah, you should still have your Facebook pixel within your website, because the data that you get off the back of that will give you great insight for other marketing that you may want to do or understanding your audience. Can you target businesses rather than individuals as customers? So yeah, I like Facebook advertising for B2B. because you can target people based on their interests. You can target people based on their job title. So it's a good way to catch people. I'm forever noticing content within my Facebook newsfeed, which is business related, because I'm a little bit off guard. We're in our social time, but then suddenly I see a tool or a free trial of something or a white paper, and I'm like, oh yeah, this will actually be quite good. So yeah, I like. I know we all think of LinkedIn in the first instance for B2B advertising, but it works really well on Facebook as well. So are ads to businesses generally more niche than ads? No, you can still reach a wide audience. Also as well, if you do have a B2B website, when you think about creating those audiences off the back of people that have visited your site, those for the most part are going to be B2B people. So you are creating B2B audiences on Facebook. Does LinkedIn offer similar tools? Yeah, as a general rule of thumb, all of the social platforms will do pretty similar things. And yeah, you can advertise on LinkedIn in a similar way. It's not my forte or my place of expertise in terms of LinkedIn advertising, but from what I hear from the experts is that it can be quite expensive to advertise on LinkedIn, but it's certainly something which is worth experimenting with if you've got the budget to do so. So Martin, the 6 conversions have added just under £100 to the price you pay for the product. Yeah. So if you're saying to Facebook, I want to find people that will definitely buy my product, Facebook will be able to find them. But because of that auction and bidding part of it, it means you're going to have to pay a lot more to reach those people, which is why it can sometimes be cheaper to roll back that conversion one or two steps. So you're not just finding people that Facebook knows will convert. You're going to send lots of people that could go on to that next stage. And naturally, with your conversion rate on the website, you'll get them through to the next stage. Is it best to optimize the ad to a purchase goal? Not always the case. Like I said, if you're not going to have 50 events within 7 days of that purchase goal, then don't do it. If you're not going to have 50 of add to cart, then don't do it. Go for either link clicks or landing page and get Facebook to send a load of relevant traffic and rely on your website conversion rate. Yeah, A/B test against static images and video. Facebook is talking a lot about using video. Facebook Account Manager, last time I spoke to them, they're all video, use video as part of your advertising. In my experience, video hasn't worked for the goals that I'm looking to achieve. It's great for engagement. It's great for brand awareness. But if you're looking to generate leads and sales, it's not always great for that, because what happens is someone is going through their news feed, they see the video which is relevant to them, they stop and watch that for a minute or so, and then rather than clicking and coming through to the website or completing the action you want, they continue their scroll. So that's my theory as to why that hasn't worked as well. How does DuckDuckGo feature in advertising? So DuckDuckGo is a search engine which doesn't collect user data, unlike the likes of Google. You are basically advertising just on what that person has put into the search engine. So those keywords, whereas Google has the benefit of being able to collect data, and you can add other demographics in order to then personalize that as well. What would you suggest if you want to advertise a product such as CBD? Search engine optimization. Unfortunately, CBD cannot be advertised on Facebook. Even if you don't talk about CBD in the ad, if you've got CBD on your website or the landing page, they'll pick up on that and you won't be able to run it. It'll get disproved. The same with PPC, Google Ads. The best thing you can do for that is create loads of valuable content that can be found, SEO, PR, outreach, all of those kind of things. And yes, you can get an estimate of conversions before you set a campaign live. So if you have a set budget, then you can use Facebook's tool in order to put that budget in there, what it is that you want to achieve, and it will kick out your estimated reach and estimated number of conversions. And I think that's all questions, unless anyone's got any others that they would like to be unmuted for, maybe? I don't know.
I finally found the mute button. So for niche business to business, I have a target audience of about 50 people in the UK. My guess is that this isn't the way I'm going to reach them.
I mean, if there's only 50 people that you can get in the UK, it's going to be quite expensive to reach those 50 people in whatever you do. And if it is just 50 people, it might be worth going a bit old school. And my business partner will hate me for saying this because we don't like cold calling, but picking up the telephone is one of the things that might work quite well for you.
So these kind of techniques are more for volume business rather than niche.
Not always the case. So one of the things that might happen, even if you try and telephone someone, they don't speak to you, they may look for you online and then come through to your website. And then that's where remarketing comes in the mix. And remarketing doesn't always have to be done on social media. You can reach people on any website that has an advert on it afterwards. So one of the things I'd always try and make sure that you're doing with your marketing is having some kind of remarketing in there, purely because at some point in their purchase journey, they will visit your website. And so it's really important to make sure that, you know, if they don't convert, you can keep your brand in front of them. Even those that do, this is a way to help with or to advocate brand loyalty, because you can even remarket people that are customers, but start doing that after a certain amount of time. So if they're likely to buy your products again, say 90 days down the line, or have an audience that's created of people that have made a purchase over 90 days ago, and then start encouraging them back in order to make more purchases. So I wouldn't dismiss it completely, David, but it's one of those things where we probably have a look into it in order to understand who your ideal audience is and if it's a viable way to go.
Any more for any more? No, thank you, Tony. I think you've done a brilliant, sterling job tonight. Thank you for your time again. Maybe we can share your slides if that's all right as well, if you're okay with that, as well as the recording, so people can go back and obviously take a look. We'll try and get this up as soon as possible on the Ipswich Southern Tech Network website. We'll send out a notice when it's live and you're ready to, so if you wanted to go back over it, so you can just start listening again. And obviously if you do have any further questions, Tony's given you his details, so please do get in touch with him if there's anything that he think he might be able to help you with. Thank you all for zooming in tonight. Thank you. It's been a good one.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. We'll leave it there, shall we? Thank you.
Cheers. Good night.